Caleb McCrae has been arrested now in connection to the alleged hazing death of 20-year-old Southern student Caleb Wilson. According to investigators, McCrae is a former Southern student himself, member of the Omega Phi Psi fraternity. He's facing charges of criminal hazing and manslaughter. Baton Rouge police say there will be a news conference about the investigation 10:30 this morning. You'll be able to watch it right here on WAFB. Also bringing you updates online as well. We're told officials will be considering charging possibly at least 3 people who were present that night, so more arrests could follow. Caleb McCrae has
University student has died, and police are working to see if a fraternity ritual might be to blame. The student, 20-year-old Caleb Wilson, reportedly collapsed at this Breck Park off of Sherwood Forest Boulevard. A source tells our team that it all happened during a fraternity ritual around 3 in the morning. Wilson was taken to Baton Rouge General on Bluebonnet, where he was pronounced dead. An autopsy is being performed to determine the exact cause of death. Wilson was a member of Southern's Human Jukebox Marching Band. Southern University released a statement saying, quote, Southern University is aware of an off-campus incident that may have resulted in the death of a student, Caleb Wilson. The campus community extends condolences to his family, classmates, and loved ones. Southern is cooperating fully with the Baton Rouge Police Department.
All right, welcome kings and queens, y'all. We are back and we are talking the Southern University student Caleb Wilson that tragically died in a fraternity hazing. And I don't even want to do it. I don't even want to be that polite and call it a hazing. It was a brutal beating. That's it. That's all. It was a brutal beating. And I brought you up to speed for those of you that, if this is your first video, please check out the first video that I dropped. Bringing you up to speed, giving you detailed background about what happened, when it happened, and why it happened. Listen, there's a first suspect. He also shares the first name. His name is Caleb McCrae, 23-year-old former student who graduated from Southern University. He was the one that inflicted the fatal blows, taking Caleb's life. There's now been a second suspect, okay, that has been arrested. And y'all, it's the Dean of Pledges. The Dean of Pledges. Authorities have arrested Isaiah Smith, the final suspect, in connection with the hazing related death. Actually, he's the final. He's not the second. He's the third suspect. And I'll cover the second one. The craziness of it all. We talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when you get the title such as that of Dean of Pledges, you take your black ass and use your fists to take somebody's life. You orchestrate and coordinate brutal beatings on up and coming college students whose parents have done the most to ensure that their children live better than them. They receive a higher form of education. And this is what you do with the privilege that you've been allotted. Make it make sense. But let me continue. So yeah, Isaiah Smith, he's the final suspect in connection with the hazing related death of Caleb Wilson. Following Wilson collapsing due to being struck in the chest. So Caleb Wilson, from what we know, he was struck in the chest over 4 times. When he collapsed, these evil monsters, somebody's sorry ass sons decided to move the other pledges to another room while they attempted to, quote unquote, assist Wilson. Now, we know damn well they did not assist him. That's the story that they are telling. That's the story that they are corroborating. Because if you wanted to assist him, let's be clear, you would have called 911. And we know for a fact that a 911 call was never made. So we're not going to give you the dignity and the honor of even saying that you tried to assist him. What they did do is they changed his clothes, just like those freaks did in Los Cabos. Those freaks, the Cabo Six, the same thing they did to Shanquilla Robinson after they brutally beat her. Black people, what's going on? This is the same thing under the guise of a different umbrella, under the guise of hating. of hazing. But what it all comes back to me is self-hate. Self-hate. And I want to take this a little bit deeper, and I really don't give a crap about pissing anybody off that's tuned in. Black men have become so violent. The level of violence is almost unheard of. And I'm not just talking about from a hazing perspective. I'm talking about the violence against each other, the violence that has transcended to women, children, the sexual abuse. We can go on and on and on. Don't tell me nothing. I don't want to hear nothing about what other races are doing, because I hone in on the psychological and the behavioral traits of the Black experience. Today, the Black men are on the docket. That's what we're talking about. We know not all. We know that. We know not all. We're talking about some, but we're also talking about a great majority. We're going to get into the statistics. Some of you are not going to like this. That's okay. That's okay. But I challenge you to lean in. And just because it's not relevant to your son and your nephew, God forbid, God forbid, if one of your daughters, one of your mothers, one of your nieces, one of your aunties run into the likes of this, or one of your good, wholesome sons run into the likes of some of these monsters that have suppressed their anger and decide that what they can do is take it out on others. So listen, they changed Caleb's clothes. They did not assist him. They neglected him. They are responsible for his death 1,000%. After they did that, they placed Caleb in Isaiah Smith's black Dodge Challenger and transported him to the hospital. They have surveillance video that captured the license plate, and it does confirm that the vehicle did and does belong to Isaiah Smith, who holds the title of Dean of Pledges and was identified as having struck at least one pledge. And Omega Psi Phi, listen, a lot of y'all are picking these men to be in charge. You're not doing background checks. You're not doing psychological assessments. We need to step the hell up. You don't get to get something because you're Black and you have a good story. We've got to continue to do our due diligence and make sure that we hold each other accountable. Okay? We make too many damn excuses when it comes to each other. We baby, we coddle, we make excuses. We turned a blind eye to bad behavior, but okay. Anywho, today, Isaiah surrendered to the Violent Crimes Unit. And this is the footage. This is the footage that they were able to capture of his arrival at the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, where his bond has been set at $25,000. Do Black Lives Matter? Because a $25,000 bond ain't nothing. He'll be out tonight on a $2,500 bond. You only have to pay 10%. So somebody's going to show up, put $2,500 down. This is just asinine. This is absolutely crazy to me. So the second suspect was hit with the felony hazing charge. I don't know his name. I don't know the second suspect's name. I'm going to have to find him. Give me 1 second. Let me look at the second suspect.
Has been captured with the help of the Middle Louisiana Fugitive Task Force. Kyle Thurman was taken into custody around 3:30 this afternoon at his home in Port Allen. Our sources say he had a deadline to turn himself in over the weekend, and when he did not show, investigators went looking for him today.
The audacity. The audacity. Who's raising these losers? The audacity. The criminal justice system working with you, giving you enough time to say goodbye to your family, although you didn't give Caleb enough time. The privilege that was allotted. You had a deadline and you didn't think enough of what you did and the life you took to show up. And as a result, they had to spend taxpayers' dollars to come out and apprehend you. Y'all, I cannot. Let's continue. I cannot.
Today. Meanwhile, when minutes mattered, arrest documents show fraternity members appear to be in no rush to get help for Southern student Caleb Wilson the night he collapsed.
No rush, didn't give a fuck. So don't argue with me, and pardon my language. Absolutely no rush. I want to put something out there. I want to ask you a question. Do you think they were in no rush to get him help because they wanted him to go ahead and pass away? Or do you feel like, or do you believe, not even feel like, do you believe that they were in absolutely no rush to get him help because he had already succumbed to the injuries? What are your thoughts? This is crazy. No rush. No, look at this baby, 20 years old, no rush to get him help.
After being hit in the chest, documents show they took time to change his clothes before dropping him off at the hospital. Those details are raising new questions about the timeline of events the night he died. It comes as funeral arrangements have finally been made to remember his young life. Our chief investigator, Chris Nakamoto, is.
And you can tell he's a smaller stature of a young man. He's not a big boy. His chest is not big. If you look at his chest cavity, we're not talking about a massive man with padded muscle mass. And even if he did, keep your damn hands to yourself. Are we having those conversations with our kids? Are we saying, don't let nobody put their hands on you? I don't give a damn who it is. Are we being extremely direct and upfront about this? This is absolutely heartbreaking and devastating.
Is here now with more on what he's learned today. And Chris, it is a lot.
Good evening, Liz. 3 individuals are all facing felony hazing charges. A second suspect, as you just said, Kyle Thurman, is in custody tonight in connection with Wilson's death. The East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner's Office confirmed to WAFB today Wilson's body was released to a funeral home late last week, but tonight the cause and manner of death is still pending further testing. This is exclusive video of 23-year-old Caleb McCrae walking out of the East Baton Rouge Parish Jail late Friday night. It happened hours after Commissioner Keena Kimball set his bond at $100,000.
That's what I'm saying. So his bond was set. This is Caleb McCrae. His bond was set at $100,000. Look, he got out on 10. You only have to pay 10%. So somebody posted a $10,000 bond. Bail or whatever it is, y'all. His bail was set, bond. He's out on 10,000. He's going home. His people are waiting for him. They're right there in the car. You saw it. And I ask you, we talking about Black Lives Matter, then act like it.
McCrae is charged with the most serious charges tied to the death of Caleb Wilson: criminal hazing and manslaughter, both felonies. Now we've learned frat members from Omega Psi Phi who were gathered at this white warehouse where pledges were taking blows to the chest with boxing gloves appeared to be in no rush to get Wilson medical assistance at the hospital.
Don't have exact timeline.
I need to know whose warehouse that is. How many times have they allowed this type of abuse and brutal physical behavior to occur here? I want to know who owns this warehouse. Put them out of business.
That we're ready to release as far as when Caleb first collapsed at this warehouse and then when he arrived at the hospital.
The exact events and how they transpired inside are still murky, but we have a clearer picture of the delay in seeking help for Wilson from arrest documents. Warrants show after Caleb collapsed, the pledges moved to a separate room where leadership attended to Wilson. Wilson was later loaded.
Let's be clear. They did not attend to him. They manipulated his body. They changed his clothes. We're not going to be nice to these mofos. The evil that existed in that room that night.
Into a vehicle and transported to BRG Bluebonnet, where he was pronounced dead by medical personnel. It should be noted that Wilson's clothing was changed prior to his arrival at the hospital.
They killed that boy and was in no rush. No rush.
It was around 2:40 in the morning when uniformed officers were dispatched to the hospital, where staff advised investigators that males who dropped him off said he collapsed at a Breck Park. That lie unraveled, as the I-Team reported last week. They were never at a park for that unsanctioned hazing ritual and were inside this warehouse instead. Sources say once Wilson collapsed inside the warehouse, he never regained consciousness. Clothes were changed and he was driven to the hospital, all while he was unresponsive.
These unruly heathens took physical advantage, psychological advantage, mental, emotional, communal advantage of this young, innocent scholar. Well-to-do. Don't tell me Black folks don't be out here hating on each other, hating, despising how some of us or how some of you have been raised, how some of you were loved, cared for, nurtured, being educated. And they take pride in beating the brakes off of you, beating the brakes off of each other. Ain't nobody talking about it enough, but I'm going to say it. Don't tell me there's not a level of self-hate that we don't see every day. It may not even have anything to do with physical violence. You see women shaking it and popping it and pussy popping on headstands, self-hate. Don't even think enough of themselves to cover it up. And I'm not saying you have to adorn yourself like a nun, but whatever happened to self-respect, sophistication? There's levels to this. Don't tell me, oh, not all. I don't want to hear it. We are dying at the rate of each other's hands. That's unheard of. There is self-hate. You see it every day. You see it. And they take it out on people they despise, people that have unique characteristics and qualities that they may not possess. I'm going to beat you because I was beat. I'm going to hate you because I was hate. I'm going to fight you because I was made to fight. Just crazy darkness, the revelation of it all.
Tonight, we've learned in addition to the charges McCray faces, 2 other individuals are also facing felony criminal hazing charges. And as we said, Thurman was arrested in Port Allen with the help of U.S. Marshal's Office. One other individual, Isaiah Smith, is...
So the second one tried to escape. He was a fugitive. He was a fugitive. You can't be nice to these mofos. Lock them up. I said what I said. Lock them up. Ain't no leniency. Ain't no understanding. Ain't no grace. Because when they gave him grace, you saw what he did. He took advantage of it. Who's raising these boys? Who's raising these monsters? I'll keep asking.
Supposed to turn himself in tomorrow. Smith is the son of Todd Smith, who leased the warehouse where the hazing happened. Southern says all 3 suspects are current students. For the WAFBI team, I'm Chris Nakamoto. Liz?
All right, just such a tough story all the way around, Chris. Thank you. So funeral arrangements have now been set for Caleb Wilson. Friday, Southern University will have a visitation and a candlelight vigil. Times will be announced a little later. A funeral service will follow Saturday.
This is a very demure, small-statured young man. He stood no chance. The hate of it all, he stood absolutely no chance. They came with a plan. They executed. They took his life. Don't tell me they didn't mean for it to go wrong. Had they called 911, that argument will be substantial. We can probably pause. We could have probably paused if 911 were called. Don't tell me they didn't mean for it to go that far when they took the time and they implemented the malice of the thought to change his clothes. Oh, they meant every blow, every plan, every step that was orchestrated. Oh, they meant business. Don't tell me that they didn't. You know how you know? Their behavior afterwards.
Saturday in Kinner at Pilgrim Baptist Church. That will happen at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Prayers to the family. This has to be the most devastating thing. And you know the crazy part about it? I'm going to just tell you this. The mom, the father, the siblings, the friends, the family will never look at it in HBCU the same. Not out of anger. It would just bring tears to their eyes. They'll probably never, for quite some, not never, but for quite some time, can't attend or hear a band sound because it will bring back memories. Different things will just strike a chord. Greek life. Things that's going to connect them to their dear lost Caleb. That's crazy. When you experience the death of a loved one, you have no idea how imprinted they become in your memory, your soul, that just things remind you of them. So please keep this family in your prayers. And I pray that those monsters receive their due diligence. I don't give a damn whose kids they are. I don't give a damn. They could have called 911 and they would have been all right. They would have been all right had they called 911, and they refused to call 911. They covered it up. They changed his clothes. They made a choice. After they beat him and the other ones, they made a choice to continue to spiral out of control. We have failed ourselves miserably. The evil that exists in the Black community is undeniable. I don't want to hear, no, it's not. Okay, whatever. And until we get real and we start talking about it, we're going to start to see more and more and more and more. That's it. That's all. Let's take it to the chat.